Invincibility, the quality of being too powerful to be defeated or overcome. Today, I obtained Invincibility in Hypixel Skyblock, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how I did it. Alright, so the strategy I'm using pretty much just involves the Withercloak sword and the Goblin armor. So pretty much right here, I'm using the Withercloak sword ability, which spawns a Val around you that grants you immunity from damage and costs 20% of your mana each time you block a hit. And I'm also using the Goblin armor, which pretty much resets your intelligence down to 100, as the set removes intelligence to give you mining speed. But there is one thing you can do to make this quite overpowered. So if I switch into my Storm set, you're going to see I'm on 4,400 intelligence. Now if I go over here, switch to my Goblin armor, you might think, oh, you'll lose 20% of your intel per second. Actually, this is not the case. So if I run over to some Endermen, I'm going to be losing about 20 every time I block a hit. Now, you might think, why? And well, pretty much this is because it does 20% of your max mana, and my max mana is at 100. Now another tip, if you hold out something for Ultimate Wise 5, you're only going to be losing 10 per hit, which is even better. So pretty much if you have 5k intel, that you can take 500 hits, and if you have like 25k in dungeons, you can take 2,500. Anyway, now that I've kind of explained that, I'm going to head on to showing how overpowered this can be in some situations. The first thing which I tried was tanking terracottas on floor 6. I found this incredibly easy as I was only losing about 3,000 mana per minute, and if I was holding something with Ultimate Wise, that would only be 1,500. So I can actually tank these terracottas for almost 20 minutes before I run out of mana and eventually just die. But now that I knew that I could tank terracottas, I decided to see if I could tank the giants. The giants were incredibly easy to tank, as I expected, so then I went on to trying one thing which I didn't know if it would work. I pretty much decided to see if I could jump into the hole next to Necron, and if I could actually survive or not. Because normally when I jump in there, I get killed instantly. But to my surprise, I could jump into there and just freely walk around with ease. And that was honestly quite a surprise to me. But anyway, now that I have become invincible to everything in floor 6, I decided to set a challenge and go into floor 7. As I already knew that I would definitely be able to tank Necron on floor 7, I just went straight down to phase 4 to see if I could tank the Frenzy, which is pretty much the thing that insta-kills people. It is normally insta-killing everyone, but for me, I wanted to see if I could tank it. And sure enough, I could easily tank it. It got to one point where it was covering the entire map, and when I revived a teammate, they got instantly killed, but I was still alive. Even when I went all the way back up to phase 3, the Frenzy was still there damaging me. Until I eventually died, ending the run at 22 minutes. I probably could have stayed alive a bit longer, but I was losing about 1,000 intelligence per minute, meaning I could probably survive about 20 minutes. One final thing which I tested in floor 7 was to see if you could get crushed. And to my surprise, you actually still can. So the invincibility does not work against the crusher in phase 2, so don't stand under it, otherwise you'll get crushed to death. Now that I tested a lot in the bosses, I decided to go back into the main dungeon, where I tested out if I could tank deathmites. And well, I definitely could. I got to the point where I started to take the deathmites out of the pit, run around and bring them over to kill my own teammates, which was definitely a lot of fun on stream. So pretty much I could, number 1, tank the deathmites, and number 2, get them to aggro me, follow me, and run around and kill my teammates for me. Probably not allowed, but sabotaging my teammates. Now that I tested everything that I felt worthy to test in dungeons, I decided to venture out of dungeons and start to test in places like the End and against different Slayer bosses. So the first thing I actually did was seeing if I would actually die to 4 damage or if I would die to the Void. And obviously to both those, yes, I did die. So sadly, you cannot prevent 4 damage or falling into the Void. The next thing which I tried was seeing if I could tank an Enderman, because if I could tank an Enderman, then I could pretty much tank any mob outside of dungeons, unless it was a Slayer mob, which I was going to try later. But pretty much I could just stand there, put my Withercloak on, and I was easily tanking everything, and I just was only losing a small amount of intelligence, and it was quite easy, honestly. Final thing which I tested was Slayer, or Rev and Sven Slayer. So I started off with testing with a Rev tier 4. I was able to easily survive it and just take no damage, as I expected. Then I moved on to Sven, and I don't know how to say it any more easily, but pretty much the exact same thing happened. I also did a lot of other tests, but it ended up just me being like, oh, I didn't take damage at all, so it's irrelevant. Like for example, Boom Blood, you will not die even if you get exploded by the TNT. So anyway, now that I've sort of just showed off everything, I've only found 3 ways which you can die so far, which isn't very many at all. But yeah, anyway, thank you everyone for watching, subscribe if you enjoy it, and yeah, apparently Menacing just uploaded a video on this, so yikes, subscribe.